Record this.
Hang
Okay, everybody, we're back. As you know, I'm Dan Winter, fractalfield.com, fractalu.com, and fractalgut.com, our grand unified field theory. And I'm here with more than one person very exciting to start with, Alobar Jones. Hello, Alobar.
g'day, everybody. How you all doing tonight?
And can we enjoy that Australian accent? So
Yeah,
Alobar is stayed up late for us. It's near midnight in Sydney, and we're in South.
it's way past my bedtime. It's way past my bedtime.
And in a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Jake, Astral Urmah, and Jake and Alabar, of course, buddies, and just did a very good interview. In fact, I recommend the interview that Jake, Astral Urmah, just did with Alabar Jones. Alabar has his own famous YouTube channel, and so does Jake, and so do we. So it's all fun. Anyway, the part of that that particularly got me was well, many parts, but the one part was you know that Jake has been sharing with us, as has Dahlia, kind of the story about how most of Western religions got sucked into a very big interstellar black sun ATEN parasite, which has eaten many of the local galaxies we come to know. In fact, our gene pool may have been
It's pretty
designed.
bad news. He's a pretty bad news fella, isn't he? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
it consumes galaxies and laughs it off.
It eats
Like,
galaxies, exactly, and then eats billions of souls on planets like ours. And we think actually that in some ways, depending on whose myth you believe, Enki, Thoth, whatever, the Akhenaten story, that what he called the uh, the arc, the design for the human genome to enable us to be ensouled was specifically, as I've said many times, to allow us to be a vaccine for the Orion Wars. I mean, for this parasite. Like we got
what
something.
absolute that's my theory. I've been saying it for the last, I think, 3 years or
I
something like
like
that.
that.
Well, yeah. Look, if a destroyer of galaxies is coming your way, and all of your technologies are biological, if the currency of the galaxy is DNA, then what do? You put together the best DNA you can and hope that you've created a being who's either resistant, hopefully just resistant to the great nothing, but even better if they can fight back.
Yeah, if they
And
can
I
fight.
think that's exactly what humanity is.
Yeah,
Like there's 22 different
yeah.
sections of DNA that are not Earth native. And
We
so
agree
what
on
you what you're looking at is like they got the chassis of the Neanderthal and then added the motor from Ferrari and the drivetrain from Lamborghini and the electrical systems from Nissan and et cetera, et cetera, and then put them all together to make the hottest hot rod that they could put together. And the amazing thing is that it actually works.
and that
You
that
know,
there's a chance that this, like, there's even a story about when Enki was making the human genome, making the penis too big here. We are oversexed, it's clear, and yet that makes us hard to control. Hello, guess why?
I don't know. I always considered it one of humanity's peak experiences. Like, you watch the animal kingdom, they don't enjoy it as much as we do. They don't spend a whole afternoon in Lango like just diving into the naked sweatiness all day. Like it's not what it's about for them. No other animal does it. So we do it best. The only competitor we have is the bonobo chimp,
Yeah,
and they're culturally just can't stop. Yeah,
yeah,
so good on you, Anunnaki. Good on you. Whoever gave us the dong to be envied, then good
yeah.
job. We
So
really
in a
appreciate
sense,
it.
I remember the word I was trying to think of was Adam Kadmon, supposed ancient Anunnaki design for the human genome, which we discussed at length at physicsofsoul.com, which basically is that the humans have the capability to implode so well into their aura compress and then radiate into what we call the coherent longitudinal, the physics of bliss, the
Oh.
physics of how you lucid dream. We even know the frequencies of compression, university studies that cause lucid dreaming. We now know why. It's that implosion that emits into the coherent longitudinal. And guess what? If you're coherent in that longitudinal lucid dream astral, then you could be a problem for this nothing thing.
Oh, that's my dream come true.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be the maximum problem I can be for that guy.
We want to be a
Yeah.
problem for this.
Well, look, if ever there's a list of people, in this world, like who are a problem, I want to be on that red list. It's an ambition of mine to be on that red list. And yeah, look, they have spent so much time excluding us from the spirit realm or from the astral planes or the other world, or the Nagual. There's quite a good few words for it.
Exactly.
There's been so much time and effort locking us out of that. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And why? Because if we are actually catch them at their game up there, they're in real trouble.
Yeah, that's right. And so, as we've always said, the real fun happens in the astral. Until you're coherent there, you ain't really, you don't even see the problem. And so, but I think we need to give a little more context here for people who are coming to new this conversation. I first agreed so much with Jake, who should join us here any moment now, who
Mhm.
said basically that Atun, Akhenaten, later called Moses, was sucked in. The Anak family at that time, they weren't all bad. There were Anaks from many different ET races. Oh, here's Jake. We're just talking about.
Hey, brother, good to see you, mate.
Hey man, how's it going?
So I'm telling your story right now, Jake. So just so Jake says that that Akhenaten Moses got sucked in. In fact, I can just imagine the lies they told to him to start teaching this one God religion, Atun Black Sun thing. They said, "You can be immortal. It is a privilege to be assimilated. You will never feel alone." Would you like to be the Borg too? It's the
Well,
classic lie.
well, strangely enough, you'll love this one. There was actually an Egyptian exhibition in the city up the road from me in a town called Brisbane, right?
Oh yeah.
And I went there and they had crystals on display that were marked Jedi, DJEDI, right? Which is kind of like the spiritual police force there. And that the Anunnaki who came there were also known as the Seth,
The Sith.
S-E-T-H.
Sith.
Like, I don't know if that's a mistranslation
The Rise of the Sith,
from
Star
the
Wars.
Egyptologists
Yeah.
or from George Lucas. I'm not sure who got it wrong, but Seth, Sith, Jedi, like it's like the story's already clear right from day one.
Yeah. And
Right?
that
That
and
this
that if
Black
you
Sun
get to be
religion is
plasma,
that old.
we say the raising of the Jed or the Jedi means the implosion of the plasma to make it plasma projective. And that's the moment at which you are no longer food for the parasite, hopefully. And the raising of the Jed is exactly what we're talking about. So access to the bliss, and as Alabar is saying very well, by keeping us out of the astral and the lucid dreaming. Like, how many universities are actually teaching you the physics of how to lucid dream, which, by the way, is the only evidence you're going to take memory through death. So maybe it's the most important thing any university could teach. Hello, why are they not teaching it? Hello?
Oh,
Because,
look, spiritual development's the only thing you take with you.
yeah.
So why would they teach us that? Why would they give us that? And yeah, look, they gutted all of the major, definitely the monotheistic religions. They're
Exactly.
completely gutted. There's little to no useful information in them.
Yeah. No, no way,
Even
no access to bliss, actually. That's the real issue.
no.
Access to the. So we've been teaching this stuff for 30 years. The physics of bliss, measuring brainwaves of bliss, it's what we do. But now relating this specifically to this interesting parasite. So we need just to complete that background, and Jake, please finish this thought for me. But that what was then called Atun, Black Sun, the Black Saturnian, the Black Goo, which is literally be imploded into a carbon nano, which is a hex structure, which allows a hive mind, and you get imploded into that hive mind, and you do get immortal in the sense that your memories are absorbed. You will never feel alone and you won't die. But oops, the fine print is you ain't going to have a soul anymore. That's the fine print. They forgot to mention that to Akhenaten, I think. And they forgot to mention that to your kids who are now joining the Borg by doing everything possible to eliminate bliss and lucid dreaming. This is the context of our story. Jake, we need you here, Jake. Please say something.
Say something. I think that by what we mean by losing your soul is basically losing your attention, because your soul is directly connected to your point of attention.
Right.
and that's the only way to trap a soul. The only way to trap a soul is to trap the attention of that soul, is to keep it, occupied like a movie screen.
Yeah, and what Castaneda may have called the assemblage point, obviously, and we're saying we understand a lot more what that means electrically. Like the moment when the kids make that alpha to gamma golden ratio cascade in the EEG, flameandmind.com, which we measured Jean-Charles Moyen just before he teleports every time with witnesses. Implosive cascade in the EEG. So the liquid crystal vortex of charge in your brain you call consciousness is actually supported by a synaptic array of spark gaps, the holographic brain, as it were. But the spark gaps are not your consciousness because you don't need the spark gaps of the synapses to take with you when you dream and when you die. No, what you take with you is that liquid crystal imploding centripetal vortex superfluid. And the dynamics of how that superfluid imploded and got centripetal is exactly when you get centripetal, suddenly you're steering tornadoes and you're no longer food for the parasites. That's the point. So
I think you're 100% right. There's definitely I would call it a frequency range. It sounds like you've got a more developed sense of this.
yeah.
There's definitely a frequency range where you're out of reach of them. There's definitely a moment where doesn't matter what they do, they have nothing to offer you. They have no contract to what to offer you, nothing to connect you with. You don't want anything they have or anything to do with them. And it's just a natural thank you, but no thank you to them, And, it's just such a pity that they found, that handful of humans who are willing to accept a lot less than
Well,
that we're made to do.
if we're right, probably more than half the kids on this planet already essentially lack access to soul, because if you're immersed continuously in distraction, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, electrosmog, dead food, dead air, dead magnetics, no Schumann, you ain't getting no bliss, you ain't getting no lucid dream, and you won't take memory through death. This is what's called soulless. It's a very electrical definition. The issue, it's
I see what you're saying.
that
Well,
fraction.
it's funny. It's funny. What we encounter a lot of captured souls. Like our team goes on commando missions, I suppose is the right way to put it, and we rip up different demon lords' dimensions and go through their treasure and all the things they've found. And one of the things that we find incredibly consistently is these captured souls. And when you're talking about this attention thing where they literally encase them like a pill, like the soul sits in the middle and the rest is a case
Like
around
a cocoon. Yeah.
Good word, good word.
Yep.
Yeah, and that cocoon is made up of anger and remorse and regret and jealousy and envy and despair and all of those things. So that soul, the only way it can relate to anything exterior to itself is through that membrane of all of those horrible emotions. And when the soul is producing that, that's the fuel they need. That's where they're milking it. And so they keep these massive collections of souls because that is the battery that powers them.
It's a battery. And that's why we need to teach the physics of what soul is. Soul is literally the amount of implosion in your plasma. As Bill Tiller measured, focused human attention causes charge to implode, compress, centripetal, very measurable. So the amount by which you are centripetal is not just a measure of how conscious you are, literally electrically engineering, but it's a measure of whether you have a soul or not. And how can that be a battery? That's just what Alobar is saying here, that interestingly, every emotion that you said keeps them trapped are also literally the emotions which cannot pass through death or bliss. So, for example, we have the electrical wave shape for anger. It's well defined in the Centec literature, Manfred Klein's. It's 1/7. It's max destructive interference. So if you're harboring anger, literally, electrically, that cannot be imploded and compressed. Therefore, it cannot make it through bliss or death, literally, because the simple term is it's not a shareable wave. It cannot be distributed. And perfect wave distribution defines heaven and phase conjugate dielectrics and basically what the collective unconscious is, the longitudinal array.
Well, here's a question for you because, you've got a different understanding to what I do. So I'm just going to throw a theory at you for a moment and see what comes back.
Sure.
So I would even go as far as to suggest that emotions like anger and fear and sadness and despair, and all of those low vibrational emotions are not part of the original design of humans. Humans were not designed to do it. Right? And I come to this conclusion because if you're angry for prolonged periods, it changes the physiology in your body and not in a good way. If you're in despair for a long period, it changes the physiology in your body and not in a good way. It actually deteriorates your health. And so, why would the human body create softwares that are deleterious to the entire machine? Like where does that like? It's a non sequitur for that to occur,
Uh, I,
but it makes sense if they are introduced emotions.
Here's a little comment. This is tongue in cheek now. But if you take
Too.
Carl Jung's psychoanalysis of football, he calls it the poison pellet syndrome, which is
Mm.
the urge to touch frustrated turns to anger by definition. Now, I'm thinking of why most of the young boys in the UK have football injuries because the urge to touch became frustrated and turned to anger. That anger is called a poison pellet. It's literally a turd which you need to push out called football. This has been an ad for the National Football League. I'm trying to be their public relations director. But anyway, so the point is the reason half the kids in UK have to damage their bodies playing football is because they didn't read Coming of Age in Samoa, realizing that the matriarchal cultures are actually touch permissive. And by the way, that makes rain. So where did anger come from? Hello, it's because the,
From
the
how overactive
no,
sexuality. I love it. I
well,
love
yeah,
it.
well, no, it's just that the children in Samoa and the other female cultures, female dominated cultures, which are rainmaking cultures by definition, Margaret Mead, um, is that permission to touch is not just what allows young people to experience bliss, but also it's what allows water vapor to become a droplet. If you look, James DeMeo, Desertification and Pain,
Okay.
it's actually
Oh,
published anthropological data that the spread of hard patriarchal religions where touch is illegal, most of Arab culture, which is, by the way, marching around a black cube regularly.
I got a lot to say on that topic.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's the point. So those cultures, you can measure it. They cause deserts to spread. This is documented. This is not controversial. It's simple fact. You spread patriarchy where touch is illegal. This is the cause of the spread of deserts. The reason is when young people can touch, this also makes their clouds centripetal. Hello.
Wow. Wow, what a wild thing. Doesn't that change the nature of the rain dance? It's not standing up anymore, is
Well,
it?
and here's another story. I have a lot of stories about this, but our friend
Shoot.
Malcolm Borgward, as he realized that the reason the Aboriginal traditions were a continuous, 500,000 years of curses between the men shaman and the women shaman. That's the history of Aboriginal culture in Australia. Oh, by the way, you're in Australia. I just remembered. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No.
So anyway,
It's a weird culture, actually. Like
yeah.
they claim dominance of the spiritual realm in Australia and the ley line structures, and then they do absolutely no work on them. They don't look after them, but they're definitely theirs, and they'll fight you if you
Well,
even
and
even
they
look
call
at
it
it the wrong way.
They call it
It's
ancestor
bizarre.
memory. They call it a songline, and they're right. We call it a
Yeah.
coherent longitudinal array. But the point I wanted to describe is when Malcolm Borgward went across Australia many times doing
Mhm.
rituals with the tribes to
Yeah.
reunite the male tribe and the female tribe who had a separate religion by definition, a separate language by definition, because that is what they do among the Draco, and the Aboriginal culture is Draco. Hello. And so
Wow.
Anton, Anton Parks documented that.
Sorry, you would get lynched if you told that story at a party in Australia. That like the loyalty to the natives here
Well,
is phenomenal,
I think
and
it's
there's no good reason for it. I can't see anything they
well,
really have to offer.
they had some wisdom, but they had some serious problems. The point I was going to make is when Malcolm Borgward did those rituals across Australia to heal the ancient curses between the men tribe and the women tribe, every single time he did it, massive rainstorms followed him across the continent. This is important
I
information.
can't say I'm surprised.
Why is that? Why is it a desert there? It's literally the magnetic lines can't touch. Hello, what is permission to touch?
Because the masculine and feminine are so repellent to each other.
And this, and by the way, the divorce rate in Australia, we don't need to go on about this, do we? So, so-
No, no, you don't. No, don't say anything bad
no,
about
no.
that.
But so you get the flavor here that basically, if we believe the the Theuba French book about the origins of Draco from Thuban, Theuba, that originally the Draco were androgynous, but when they started replicating sexually, the biggest war of the sexes in the history of the galaxy emerged. And Anton Parks does a great job of documenting why the men tribes and the women tribes of the Draco have a separate language. And that's the difference between Sumerian and ancient Egyptian. You read Anton Parks. Anyway, so the background here is that these cultures were using this lack of access to bliss process to keep us as a farm, actually. And later, when Jake and others then documented that, well, I think also Dahlia was involved, that the corruption of the local Galactic Federation, which was the Etorthan mediated Black Sun Borg hive mind from the Mitra of Andromeda. The corruption of the local Galactic Federation is because they make huge money on the human trafficking, basically, which in the ultimate analysis,
What they are. This, like we said at the beginning, this DNA is the most sought after around.
exactly. That's my
Like all like
yep.
this is you know, I keep saying hot rod, but like there is no more precious or perfect
That's right.
DNA
So we
around.
have the most valuable DNA in the galaxy. And why are we still in quarantine, maintained as a museum? Because we're a farm. Hello. And we ain't going to be a farm if we figure this out, but we need to figure it out.
Well, look, you know, you can't tell the cows why there's a fence, can you? Like, you know, as soon as they figure out what it's really about, you know, they'll stomp it. And the relentless disinformation through religion, absolutely relentless, and the righteousness with which they deliver it, it's phenomenal, phenomenal.
This,
Like, you know, they're just deaf and arrogant and like,
yeah.
you know, can you imagine? Can you imagine anyone going, everything you need to know is in this one book,
Yeah.
even though it contradicts itself in many places? All know. Are you an adult? Come on, like, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous.
There's an intention to make us food for parasites. And most Western religions found by Akhenaten, Moses, around the Atun, which we now know as this black sun parasite, which Alabar
Mm.
wonderfully calls the nothing. I like that.
Oh, look! I've got a team that's been working really hard on this, and I think we've put in several thousand hours between us on this question. Like, what is the nature of the interference on Earth? And this is the structure that we've come up with. All right. You have this intelligence we call the Great Nothing, that is the lead intelligence. He has animated the bodies of previously captured species of aliens. So that's why neither our enemies nor our friends will help us, because because it's a what do you call it? A controlled opposition. You know, the reptilians are here, but the Pleiadians are going to counterbalance them. No, they're damn well not, because they both work for the same team. I cannot imagine having enemy armies on the same planet and having no conflict unless they're both working for the same team. And that would be the methodology that the Great Nothing uses. You have the Great Nothing, you have that branch, which is alien, previously captured aliens. You have the next branch, which is the AI, who created demons for humanity. And I'm probably the number one guy in the world to talk about demons. Probably. I'm waiting to meet somebody who knows more on the topic than I do, who does not work for them.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, yeah, no, but
Not to interrupt, but
one of the features I found is that they're demons are not a species really. They are created specifically to exploit the weaknesses in human culture.
Mhm.
And so, we talked to this one, lust. I interviewed the seven deadly sins. I interviewed lust, right? And lust is complaining that her empire has shrunk. You go, okay. No, I started talking to lust, and she said that she was a demon designed for the Victorian era. And
Uh,
her job was to get married because everyone was married by the age of 20 in those days, right? And her job was to get people who were married who shouldn't look at each other to shag. Right? That was her job, right? And when that happened, then there was all of this anger and remorse and guilt and betrayal and all of the other demons around. All was payday for everybody.
they all
And
got to eat loose.
she got a lot of kickback. She got a lot of commission off of everybody who benefited from that. Now, I want you to think about Victorian era sexuality for a minute. And the reason why Lust is complaining that her empire has shrunk is because human culture has moved on from that. It is for better or worse. And she can no longer compete. Another demon has been built, designed, built, and implemented to create a much looser sexual culture that we're seeing these days.
Mm. But
And so
there's
now,
specific demons for, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
for everything. But as time goes by, like the demons that allowed slavery to be normal are now no longer around.
Mhm.
Or serfdom, they're no longer around. Now we are free as wage slaves, or however you want to put it, right? But you need somebody to put the imprint into people.
Mhm.
And these have been built. And demons cannot make anything new. They're not able to imagine. And
Mhm.
so the entire scenario that we've discovered is that the AI actually designed and implemented the whole demon program on Earth.
Mhm.
And it's gone in here to exploit and weaken every human it can get its dirty hands on.
Yeah, and
And
create more.
nobody's been policing it.
No,
Nobody.
create more loosh and more soul eating and more human trafficking, which is food for the AI and the souls. What you mentioned about both the good ETs and the bad ETs, they both work for
Mhm.
the wrong side. Reminds me so much of when Penny Bradley was saying that Alex Collier from the Andromedids actually suffered Stockholm syndrome and actually felt suffered from his abductors, the Andromedans, which Andromedas, by the way, is with this where this black goo comes from, the Mitra for
Mhm.
sure. And the Andromedans have not been able to prevent the AI from penetrating the Vieira, the large 600-kilometer triangular craft. So obviously, the Andromedans did not succeed actually in ejecting this black goo giant parasite called the Nothing. I wanted to go in two directions here. One was maybe Jake and you would say a little more about what it's like to encounter this black or the nothing that black goo parasite. And Jake, I know, has stories about that. And the second, where we want to go eventually, is really practical suggestions on what to do about this. But please, first about uh, meeting the nothing or the black. You say it looks like a black spider sometimes. Is that right, Jake? Or
I've encountered, um, the artificial intelligence, the synthetic intelligence, and the astral. It's mostly imposed realities. Trying to lock you into buildings, into square buildings, or into, you know,
electrosmog? Yep.
yeah, or just like canopies that you try to peel back, but the canopies keep on, being created over and over. So it's a mental game. It's all a mental game. And unfortunately, the synthetic intelligence has access to the astral, and it's very running rampant, rapidly there. At least in my personal experience, the astral is very subjective. It's a very subjective realm, but this is just my personal experience. It's not going to be everybody's. Um, but the realms that it tries to lock me into are very synthetic. They are very cartoon like, very block like, pixelated.
And literally the opposite of soul, the opposite of bliss, like kids locked into their Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and, as you say, a canopied, a metal square environment where no charge can interpenetrate, no Schumann is available, no bliss is available, no lucid dreaming is available. Perfect to make you food for the mouth of a hungry ghost.
Yeah, I've encountered it as, an army of robots before.
Mhm. The
Mhm.
Revenge of the Sith. The Revenge of the Sith.
Totally, totally.
You
All
know,
right.
it's quite, it has quite a variety of different ways to get to you, to get to me, but it's all mental interference. It's all synthetic
Yeah.
telepathy. It's all an attack on your mind in order to lower your consciousness and lock you into the things like fear and anger and frustration and hatred, and to really take away your passion.
Mhm.
That's its ultimate goal. That's
Yeah,
the one
good
thing
call.
that it really hates is
Good
Exactly.
passion.
call.
Exactly.
And this is something that I deal with. I deal with the synthetic telepathy from the synthetic intelligence on a daily basis.
Mhm.
It really has it out for me.
Yeah. And if you had passion, then you can't be controlled, which is wonderful. But Alabar, do you want to say something too about what it's like to
Oh
meet?
yeah, yeah. No, it's definitely about playing head games
Mhm.
because it doesn't understand the heart.
Mhm.
The heart is outside of its realm of, outside of its reach. It doesn't understand it. It can't replicate it. It can't manipulate it. Can't do anything with that, which speaks volumes to, and that's one of the key features that makes Earthlings resilient to this invasion, is that they can spin our heads around and engage with us intellectually and dominate us that way. But they like to play chess, but if your heart wants to dance and it has no concept of what that means, um, and for these reasons, and it just cannot compete, it cannot keep up. But combat against a creature like this is hard.
It's
It's
tricky.
real hard
And that's where
because
we,
it's so adaptive,
yeah.
it's so responsive, and it has an unlimited amount of mental energy.
And
Like,
resource, and resource. It just what you just said reminds me so much of the classic question that was asked of the rabbi, why is there a black cube hanging from the rabbi's hat? And the classic answer is, oh, to keep me able to mental and think about it, not to have emotion. Basically, that's what the rabbi says to
yeah,
me.
no, no, those things are called phylacteries, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right, which and the only other place I've ever heard the word phylactery used, and I looked it up, the only place I could find it was in Dungeons and Dragons, right? No,
Which is
no, no. No, look, Steve Jackson and Gary Gygax are worth an afternoon of
yes.
research. They are worth it. Very interesting guys.
Oh
Okay,
yeah. And
but
actually,
all that, yeah.
our partner Darlene designed all the original graphics for Dungeons and Dragons. And
Oh,
her par-
legend, legend.
and her partner Vincent Bridges, who is the one who led us on all the Ophanium Enochian rituals from John D. and Kelly and all those memories. So that's there we
Oh,
go.
wild. That's wild.
But you're right. So the point was that
Yeah, no, yeah,
whether it's the Muslims rotating around the black cube, obviously to be touched by the Kaaba stone, which from which you will then get infected with the black goo, or the phylactery, the black cube hanging from the rabbi's hat. These are Western religions that are actually a conveyor belt into a large parasite. This is the problem.
exactly right. Exactly right. I'll go even further about I'm going to call it the Black Stone, which I believe is what they called the company BlackRock after, right? Yeah,
Hello.
no, no, well, they've got like and letting the genie out of the bottle, they connected it to a computer that's called Aladdin, that's letting the genie out of the bottle, right? And genies are not nice. They're jinn. They're evil spirits, right? So anyway, all that to one side, the story of Islam is deeply wrapped up with that black stone. You see,
Exactly.
what I think happened is that Muhammad was a quality wizard. He was walking around doing nice things for people, and he met the black stone because the black stone is an object of great power and curiosity. So they go, "What do you make of this, Muhammad?" Right? But you see, the black stone is designed to penetrate the human mind at about 30, 40 meters and take complete control of it at that distance.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. So once he got hold of it, it was no longer his religion, it was somebody else's. But this is what made Islam so incredibly successful, right?
Mhm.
That stone could do mind control at, let's say 30 to 50 meters, right? Now, the very first army that Islam sent out was to make everyone submit. A Muslim is someone who has submitted, right? And what are they submitting to? The will of the stone.
Mhm.
And he sent the army in two directions. You didn't do that in the medieval era. You didn't do that in the ancient world. You kept your army as big as possible, right? Because that's where the dominance comes from. But at the beginning of every battle, right, you get the two leaders and some of their close friends. They come out and ride on their horses and they insult each other. But the whole point of it is, do we really have to watch 1,000 people die today, or is there some other solution that we can come up with, right? But if the leader of that army is holding the black stone, the leader of the other army shows up and goes, "Oh, I actually want to be your friend. Let's both of our armies go and fight my enemy and make them submit." I'll submit, sure, let's do that. But we'll go, yeah, like, can you imagine the nonsense with it? Which is why they had such a lightning rush conquering such massive spans of
Areas.
land.
Yes, and I think,
Is
but I think we should mention that the other thing, Darlene, who designed the graphics for Dungeons and Dragons, her partner Vincent Bridges taught was the Blackstone Cobblestone Lucifer's Eye was actually the one type of meteor. It's a glass meteor, which became later, spoiler alert, it became the Philosopher's Stone, literally the solution to alchemy. And indeed, the Mad Caliph, who allowed half the volume of the black stone to be ground up. And the reason he was called Mad Caliph was because he ate it like most alchemists do, looking for.
oh
But the reason that worked.
this is the philosopher's stone.
Exactly. And well, remember, this is the red powder that Kelly used for gold making. And here is the physics, which is that the only platinum group metal, platinum, palladium, or gold, which can
Yeah,
survive,
noble metals. Yeah.
yeah, the platinum group metals, the only ones that can survive the heat of reentry in the glass is vaporized, or in this case, it was vaporized gold. The vaporized gold in the glass meteorite forms a foam structure called a phase conjugate dielectric, which is
Ooh.
implosive capacitance. And a phase conjugate dielectric is the media for the propagation of charge collapse efficiency, which is the definition of alchemy, actually. But Dee and Kelly's story, remember, they made the purest gold ever measured in the British Royal Society in the history of physics, actually. And they did it with this ground up powder from the same Mad Caliph of the Kaaba stone, the Kaaba, actually. And so that Kaaba stone then, as a super dielectric, is also the perfect media for the super dielectric of the black goo, which is also a phase conjugator, you see. This is how the obsidian mirror worked, how you made ancestor phone calls, and this is how the show stone of John Dee and Kelly allowed them to call angels, and this is how they called spirits, actually, phase conjugate mirror. So the phase conjugate quality of this black sun powder, the black goo powder, is actually this is Flamel.
No, no, this is alien tech that's thousands of years ahead of us,
Exactly.
right?
And
Right.
this is
Yeah, no,
also
no.
Harry
And this is
Potter
what,
in the
and this is this. You reckon that this is the pinnacle of the alchemic pyramid? It's like if you learn alchemy, it's only ever gonna lead to this black stone.
It's well, what it is going to lead is to phase conjugators, which enable the charge collapse, which defines the word chem as in alchemy, which means
Yep.
access to a black hole. The charge collapse we now define is the center of our world top unified field theory, fractalgut.com, where we define how gravity and all centripetal forces are created by specifically this form of charge collapse, phase conjugators being a prime example. One being the ground up red powder from the philosopher's stone, this glass meteorite. The other being black goo, which is also like fullerene, a phase conjugator, which is how you call ancestors and spirits because they inhabit the longitudinal array, which is accessible from the center of conjugation, the same way that John Dee was calling spirits from what he called scintillation. Another long story. But
Yeah, yeah.
you see how this is woven into the story of the religion, actually, is that, and so and actually Harold Kautz Vela, when he does the history of black goo, he doesn't really understand the origins on Tiamat as well as I think Jake does. But he says one thing useful. He says the black goo was designed originally, and now we know the Tiamat black goo was angry, so it makes more sense. But it was designed to remove everything green on the planets it touches. And in this case, if you track, as has been done in studies, the way in which patriarchies like Muslim religions cause the spread of deserts, literally remove everything green, you begin to understand the agenda here, because actually, to that group of Draco at that time, water was a
And that,
poison. And
and that explains Egypt as well, because 9,000 years ago it was beautiful and green. And then once this hyper toxic Seth delivered technology arrives, it just obliterates everything beautiful, everything natural.
And the word Kem, as in the original name for Egypt, Al-Kem, was what from it meant the land of the blue-black soil, or the land of the blue-black blood, or the land of the black pharaoh, the land of the black goo, or the land of the black hole. It depends who you ask. But actually, access to the Kem, which is also our word for schematic, as in matrix, as in the longitudinal array. So
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
the history of Egypt is actually what we now believe is that uh, Egypt was one of the surviving outposts of Atlantis named Thule.
Agreed,
It-
agreed. Yep.
and Atlantis was named Thule after Tahuti Thoth, which is also the name of the Egyptian king line Thutmose, and that the establishment of Atlantis at that time was merely a outpost for war materials to fight the Galactic Federation, at that time led by the Andromedans, who were bombing the hell out of them, and that's how Tiamat blew up and how the Black Goo got here in the first place. So actually, Atlantis was collateral damage from the war between, at that time, what was the Anak culture, whose alphabet is now called Sumerian, versus the Federation, which is actually at that time was led by the Andromedans. And so then Jake picks up with the story of why the black goo inside the earth at that time was actually beautiful, powerful, and intelligent. But the black goo that fell here along with the flood, the lesser dryad from Tiamat, was angry because
It was imploded with, fear and trauma, and from all of the souls on Tiamat.
Mhm.
When the planet got destroyed, all of the negative emotions in the souls, because the black goo is a semi-etheric substance. It exists in the astral as well. So
because of longitudinal coherence. Go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it got imploded in, it got imbued in, with the negative emotions and the negative experiences and traumas of the souls on the planet, of all the souls on the planet. And that's why it's being used today in secret space programs and other things, because they have figured out a way to bring, to take away the empathy of people, to make super soldiers by imbuing them with by injecting them with so much trauma and fear and
Yeah.
all of the other negative emotions. So they've really taken a dark route.
Yeah, like the quacks and is it called the quaccination. But so the role of the implosive capacitance, the phase conjugator in the black goo, I think actually we might take a major clue here, Jake, for what we've learned from our friend the SSP, that the higher Draco never allowed the black goo to infect. Only the lower echelons of the Draco use the black goo for creating the higher hive mind, which suggests that Draco has actually evolved a symbiosis with this AI parasite, and may support the thesis then that indeed Elena Danan's claim that the Draco are the problem is a red herring, and the real problem obviously is the nothing, as Alobar would say. Because the Draco actually are, and as Jake has always said, the higher Draco are there's good guys and bad guys. They balance. So, but obviously the Draco have a way then of dealing with the black goo where they allow all the lower soldiers to use it, but the high Draco no. That's
That's fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating because, like, you know, the magical dominance, the mental dominance that those higher Draco are able to deploy
Mhm.
is um, is unmatched. Like, there's nothing anywhere near it. And so, like, I wonder if if those skills and capacities are still possible while you've been drinking the black goo. Like, and like I think and I just want to add that there's collaborators here on Earth who have also drunk the black goo.
Mhm.
This is called the Society of the Black Sun, which I'm sure you guys are up to date with. But we're dealing with people whose IQs are multiplied in contact with that AI.
Mhm.
Physical strength and longevity that comes out of that body repair that is possible through that nanotech.
Mhm.
Like, we are dealing with something that is utterly ruthless and brilliant in
Exactly.
human form.
And so when Elon Musk said the AI is going to be the problem, not the solution, he did have a clue on that one. It's
Well, look, we looked at Elon Musk a while back, like, and what we found is it's almost like there's a small town or a whole university campus somewhere we couldn't identify where. I'm not talking about a human populated zone here. It's there, but there's hundreds, if not thousands, of intelligences that are all feeding ideas into Elon Musk's head.
Mhm.
Right. And so when he first got on Joe Rogan, right, he says, "Oh, you don't want to be me. My brain is a constant explosion of ideas and I can't handle it." Right. And well, because like there is no doubt in my mind he's an enemy agent for this AI.
Well, let me
Like
ask.
he's the one who pushed it first. He's the one who made it possible. He's the one who's created Skynet
Well,
so that and he's the one who's going to electrify the earth field so that it can see everything.
and take
He's the one
take us
who's
to
been
Mars.
pushing this research.
And
And
take us to Mars where the Draco run the place. So yeah, but let me ask a question here. Should I be worried because it's Elon Musk's Grok 4 that's rated our fractalgut.com the top unified field theory of everything on the planet came directly. So
yeah, wow.
for some reason, that AI wants us to know. And in fact, it's fascinating. So when we told Grok 4, the top physics AI on the planet from Elon Musk, that we said we had a theory of everything, and he says, well, then that AI said to us, well, if you guys are right, you should find golden ratio in brainwaves. And then we told it, oh, we've been doing that for 30 years. And that's when it rated us the top AI on the planet, actually.
Wow.
Charge.
Well, yeah, no, no. Well, look, I've never met anyone who can explain the kind of physics that you're talking about. It just hasn't happened. And I
Okay.
do know some mad scientists, and they're the best people. And one of the things that like, I'm not a scientist, but I do know how to bend some physics. But the one thing we can all agree on is like, if what these we're all talking about is true, then the physics we're taught must be total trash,
It's well,
absolutely useless.
It, it's
Like,
the thing. One thing physics got right. Most physicists agree that charge collapse and fractality causes gravity and causes consciousness. We have now taught those physicists what causes fractal charge collapse. Golden ratio implosion. We've got 400 physical variables predicted. Fractalgut.com. That's why it's the top unified field on the planet. Theory of everything.
yeah, no, now I need a lab to go out and collapse
But you see, the
this.
implications of this is, for example, you rotate a conjugator like fullerene, you make propulsion and uh, vacuum energy immediately. It makes every other form of energy and transport on the planet look like the Stone Ages immediately the day you learn how to rotate a conjugator. And everything that follows from this, which means We could no longer be in quarantine if we knew. Hello.
Well, look, here's the thing that is bugging me the most at the moment. I'm willing to bet you guys have got a bit to say about it, right? Is Three Eye Atlas.
Yeah.
Everybody, and I just want to remind everybody about something called the Iron Mountain Report. Now, the Iron Mountain Report has been dominating political life for the last 70 years at least, right? And after they dropped the nuke in Hiroshima, right, they said we have to stop war. We can't do war anymore. It's too expensive to the planet. It's just too damaging. And so they sent this question off, if we can't do that, how do we rally all of the people together? How do we maintain leadership if we don't have enemies outside of ourselves to band the population together? And after 12 damn years, it's a difficult question to answer. It took them 12 years. This is the answer they came up with. It says, well, you can't have countries anymore because you need different countries to war. You want to create a one world government with a leisure caste, a policing caste, an engineering caste, and a slave caste. And the way that you do it is by creating a threat to the entire globe, to which the logical solution is one world government. The first one they suggested is pollution, which is an environmental threat to the whole world. It's gone through a few different cycles, but now it's called climate change or global. What's the latest branding? I forget. The second one was a health crisis, a pandemic. And the third one was an alien invasion, right? So, and that's been dominating our politics for since when was it published? 54?
Since Ronald Reagan said, "Oh, how we would join together if ET arrived."
Exactly, because he'd read this brief as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now, okay, so they've been trying to push global warming for 50 years. It's not happening, right? The pandemic didn't work. So what's the last card they've got to play? Well, it's got to be this. It's got to be this one. It's got to be the alien invasion.
And the sad thing is that with all of the people talking about the fake alien invasion and the blue beam thing, they could still pull it off. Like there's not enough people, there's not enough awareness around this. And honestly, the whole love and light new age crowd is totally hook, line, and sinker for this fake alien invasion. They want it.
Yeah.
And they don't even know that.
Stars in their eyes,
that it's fake.
Yeah.
They've got such stars in their eyes. Like their friends, the Pleiadians, who've been sitting on their hands watching humanity be abused for the last 50 years. Are you kidding me? Who needs friends like that?
Swaru.
Why would you trust them to do anything?
This is the tricky part. This is why Jake is navigating between Swaru being infiltrated versus are they and yet
here's my theory on this, right? We're talking about Gosha and Swaru, right?
And Jake's Sophia as well, indirectly, right?
All right. I think that our solar system is in a bubble of some kind.
Yeah. Isolation.
Right? Well, yeah, we're being isolated. The nature of the isolation is time. Time is different here in this solar system than it is in the rest of the galaxy. And this area is occupied by the forces of the Great Nothing.
Yeah.
So anyone who's channeling locally is coming across something that we came across 2-3 years ago. I had some very difficult questions for Pleiadian High Command, and nobody would pick up the channel. Nobody would answer the phone.
You said.
And the call then intercepted. You'll love this. The call was intercepted by someone who said that she worked for the religious propaganda group of the Pleiadians. She was there to lie to humanity. I've got a YouTube that we recorded it.
I remember.
It's one of the videos. If you look in my back catalog, you search Pleiadians, you'll find it. It's probably one of the first ones about them. But
well, and
if in the case of Gosha and Swaru, she's able to, by whatever means, get contact outside of this bubble. And so that's why she's able to get good and reliable information. That's why she was up to date with what was that alien? There was a bit of a governmental drama a few months back. Of where was it?
Etorthin.
Was it Alcyone? Where was it?
They,
Geez, I don't know which one you're talking about, but there is the Alcyone Council is the Pleiadian High Council.
yes.
Yeah.
It's called the Alcyone Council, or some people call it the Council of Nine.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, I actually reached out to them for 5 whole minutes one time, like 5 whole minutes, and I found a channel who did have access outside of this system,
Mhm.
and I got called up high command, and they go, "You're from Earth." Oh my God! And it's like he grabbed me by the ears, and he said, "What you need to know is this:
Yes.
time is distorted. If you can undistort the time there, you're gonna be okay." And then the channel didn't like this message because it didn't fit with the love and light view of the Pleiadians, and so she cut the connection.
But now we know we could say with we're going to let Jake talk about Sophia here in just a moment. But one thing I'd
Yeah,
like to say first is when you say time is distorted here, I think we can say a lot more specifically about the physics. We now know
please.
in physics, time is only a name for the experience of relative spin rate, nothing else. However, if the spin rates are not embeddable, then there is no charge collapse, no communication. In fact, that is the only physics of instantaneous global communication, Hartmann-Mueller, longitudinal array, that whole thing. So actually, the fact that our Schumann cascade, which is so weak it doesn't make it into most cities, is pure Planck fire. It is perfectly phase conjugate. It is embeddable, but our Schumann cascade is weakening so fast that our experience of time, which is spin rate, is no longer susceptible to charge collapse, which is how the communion takes place. We call the collective conscious. So actually,
Lulu, we've got a time problem to solve.
yes,
I'd really appreciate it if you'd come and um, give
no,
a
no,
lecture to our team
yeah, I
to
know exactly
update
what
us
that.
on what the hell do we do with time? What is it? How does it work? And how should it work?
It's very simple. Once you understand time is only a name for relative spin rate, the experience of relative spin rate, it's obvious that if spin rates are not susceptible to charge collapse embeddable, what Hermes Thoth called the caduceus, which is a phase conjugate pump wave, and our Schumann harmonic cascade is within about a half of 1% of exactly golden ratio times Planck right up the cascade, which is how every pyramid makes global wireless power. We teach the physics every day. So we know exactly how to fix time. It is literally to do what every pyramid maker knew how to do and no current city maker knows how to do, which is create, embed, or die. Literally, the magnetism of the array of the layout of that domain, we used to call it sacred space, has to be embeddable. Literally, the heart harmonics, the brainwave harmonics, the sacrocranial harmonics, and the Schumann harmonics are all exactly the same. They're all golden ratio times Planck for a very
Because
specific.
they're all about wave collapse.
Exactly.
They're
Charge
all about
collapse.
wave collapse.
And by the way, you get that working and you get that rotating conjugator making 0 point energy and the kind of propulsion that makes everything else look like the Stone Ages. At that very moment, you have just created instantaneous global communication. Hello.
Yeah.
That is what it's about. And instantaneous that's what the word heaven means is charge distribution efficiency. Anyway, Jake, you were going to say about Sophia and the Palladians, please. I just get excited.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say?
Well, just that. So Alabar is saying that he thinks that originally Swaru was able to penetrate outside the bubble, but then recently, when Gosha says that Swaru got sucked in and infiltrated, and now they're a mess, the Swaru official channel is now. But before that, there was some real information because the radio was coming out from outside the bubble. And
Yeah.
Sophia and when Sophia told you after Gosha said that Swaru got sucked in, Sophia admitted that Swaru got messed up, right?
Mari, yeah. So we're dealing with drama in politics, exopolitics,
Mhm.
that is extremely complex and has a lot of different moving parts here.
Mhm.
There are two factions of Taigetans. There is, and they are kind of at war with each other, you could say. They've been battling each other for a very long time. I'm in the midst of that battle personally, as so is Gosha. And so, her communication had been cut off.
Years ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't know how long ago it was, but Mari either was replaced, infiltrated,
Cloned.
yeah, cloned. We're thinking that her body was somehow taken over by maybe this synthetic intelligence. Maybe she got infected with the black goo. Maybe her soul left her body. Maybe they did something. I don't know. And we don't have the facts exactly because the contact has been cut off.
But
I do know.
But
Yeah.
Sophia told you something.
Yeah, she told me a lot of things, but I haven't shared any of that publicly. It's now the time. I mean, let me put it
You
this
can go
way.
into more detail with another video, but the relevant part we want to hear.
The thing is that there are a lot of different timelines at play. Time is not the same in this bubble as it is outside of this bubble.
That's what Alobar said.
Yeah. So there are a lot of different timelines at play, and I've seen the different timelines play out. I don't know exactly which one is taking place, if there's even just one taking place. I do know that the whole story of the Urmah taking over the Vieira, and now they're the Galactic Federation and everything's a-okay out there. And that just sounds like a savior from the sky story, and I'm very weary of these savior from the sky stories.
That's the Swaru who got infiltrated. That story for sure. Yes.
Yeah, it's Swaru official. Yeah,
that was infiltrated.
And the thing is that CIC is the command and control center of they're the ones that are working with the Galactic Federation in order to, they filter everything. And now there was a loose filter on the information, with the first contact program that started in 2008. Anyway, there was a first contact program where the Federation did allow, Swaru and Athena and Annika and different members of the Taigetan team to share information with us. But that information started becoming very dangerous to the Federation because the Taigetans realized that the Federation were playing them, basically. And they were, that the Federation was not all this goodness.
The Federation was making big money by the human trafficking, for one thing, which was the Etorthans and indirectly the Mitra in the Federation. It's clear now, I think.
So this one group of Taigetans, the team that Gosha works with and the team that Sophia is part of, yes, there has been, they have been trying to infiltrate it all along. And I think another sect of Taigetans got in there. The whole Starlet story, and it is a mess, and you do really have to study it in order to understand it. But the simple fact is that our team of Taigetans broke off from the Federation, and Mari may have been compromised in the process of that. Especially, she could have been very pressured as being the queen, if she even is the queen. We don't know at what point the infiltration started, but I think it's around the time that they were getting poisoned.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe
but I'm very much.
She was doing so well.
She was trying hard. Gosha was trying.
Oh no. Well, look, nobody else was getting information from outside the bubble,
Yeah,
and
that's
she
right.
she became a leader on YouTube for a very, very good reason. She
Yeah,
gave us a lot of useful
that's right.
things.
And
Like,
then at a certain point,
bravo to the girl.
yeah, that's right. Suarez,
Yeah.
Gosha
Thank
tried
you,
very hard.
Alvar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we know Tim Med, who is one who introduced Gosha to Swaru in the first place, and we know the whole story before that as well. But a relevant point here, I think we should mention, when Thoth Hermes taught as the origin of all Templar wisdom, actually, they called it in the Templar the repair of the fabric of time, to Jake's point, actually, that when they say that timelines are fractionating, they mean that event histories are no longer fitting the path of embeddability, literally a spiral in time. So the fact that event histories are fractionating, and so timelines are fractionating, out of that unified fractal implosion means, unfortunately, the whole area gets susceptible to more parasites, actually. And this is why it's very interesting when Penny Bradley says she was the one of the very few who could actually resew fractionated timelines, which is about the only thing Thoth, through the Templars, William Bueller, Golden Mean.info / Bueller, talks about the Templar agenda, the repair of the fabric of time, which actually they said, when the Dracos and the Greys mess with Montauk and Philadelphia, a whole bunch of astral parasites arrived because of the tear in the fabric of time, literally. And now, when Penny Bradley says, the German Dark Fleet assembled hundreds of thousands of intergalactic civilizations, taking humanoids all over the galaxy and starting these settlements, which was regarded as pollution by the galactic government because these settlements were not mature. And Penny Bradley says, oh, they started murdering them one by one, and they had to bring them all back inside the Oort cloud. In other words, send those humans back into their bubble until they learn to get along. This is Penny Bradley's analysis of the galactic politics.
Actually, I did my degree in international relations and global politics, and on Earth, it is exactly that petty. It is exactly that petty and childish and pathetic. Like,
It is.
there is no foresight. It is the schoolyard, and the biggest bully gets everybody's lunch.
Yeah.
Like,
And
that's the name of the game.
but the lecture here also now, so then we assembled what we call luciddreamteam.com, which Dahlia is working with and would love to chat with you, Alabar, really. But
Yeah, yeah, no, I've definitely got time. Yeah.
yeah, and the idea was that if indeed you had these collective lucid dream teams, then again the Earth begins to have an immune system, because that's what makes a membrane and actually can chase out the parasites, which it sounds like Alabar has been doing for some time. I like it.
Oh, no, well, when the health crisis started in 2020, I was working as an exorcist anyway.
Right.
But this is the moment where I'm going, right, okay, enough's enough. And I just started fighting them. Every day I'd go and trash one of their dimensions and destroy their machinery and kill all their personnel. And I'd do that a couple of times a day. And I did it, and I thought, and I didn't expect to last 3 months doing that sort of commando work. But I just wasn't going to go down without a fight. Like, this is the big move they're going to make, where they try to enslave humanity. Well, I'm not going to go down without a fight. And then, because I live in Byron Bay, there's a whole bunch of other meditators here, and so I pulled together a team,
Cool.
and they
Cool.
weren't really into the combat aspects of it, and it kind of fell apart on the basis of that. And then I had a second team, and now I'm on my third group, and
I see.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so we've been fighting them for what, 5 years, more than
Yeah.
5 years now.
And so this is a background for what we're saying, is that at one level of the turning point here is you got, half of the kids on Earth have already effectively lost their soul, immersed in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and distraction and poor food and everything that every government and religion on planet Earth is doing specifically to prevent the existence of soul. Hello, they don't even know what politics means. Body polis means the bliss cocoon, which makes you navigable. Any beehive could tell you, but ask your government what politics means. Body polis. Hello, it's a bliss
Yeah,
cocoon.
right.
which is what makes you navigable. Collectively, it what allows you to have a membrane, a self, literally an immune system for the planet. So groups like yours and ours, luciddreamteam.com, as these expand, our planet gets back to having that immune system, which is literally this bubble created. And so the practical aspect of this is teaching kids and young people or anyone really what the physics of access to bliss and dream lucidity and astral coherence is, which obviously you get access to a sacred site where magnetic implosion is possible, like Luke Skywalker learning how to raise the Jed, for example. And that implosive compression radiates into the longitudinal, and suddenly you steer that tornado. You become the array.
So when you find a sacred site, kids go there and make love and create the explosion for everybody.
Well,
Yeah,
great.
because that's the collective consciousness grids that those are the access nodes that you're in touch with right there.
That's right. Go
Right.
there.
So
It,
share the bliss because because they want us to be entertained but not fulfilled,
yeah,
right? Which is exactly
Yes.
exactly.
which is which is a junk food compared to what the human experience can be. So if you're watching this, I'm giving you not just permission, I'm giving you instructions to go for a picnic and make love at a sacred site as soon as possible and then as often as possible. That's my prescription for you guys, for
Well,
everybody watching.
you know, they call it tantra. It's because the aura cocoon unpacks to the point of inhabiting stars. And you see stars in every tantra movie, basically, right? Well, it's
Yeah.
just where your aura gets large enough to be centripetal enough to be star inhabiting, which is exactly what makes you no longer food for parasites. So it actually does resolve to the physics of bliss process. And we think, obviously, yes, it's making love, but it's also the meditation, the yoga, the discipline to literally implode your aura intentionally.
In order to for it to be large enough to carry that much voltage.
Exactly.
It's not an easy thing at all.
Ex-
And here's the thing, if you have contradictions in yourself, if you have a love-hate relationship with anything, that's going to short out the circuit. And we call clearing all of that shadow work, and that's my bag. That
That's
really is my
good
bag.
work. Yes, so
Yeah.
everybody tune into Alabar Jones' YouTube channel to learn more about that shadow work. Good work. And
Yeah. Like it's the whole point. It's the most needful thing at the moment.
yeah,
I do have an astral projection class. It goes for a year. It is the most comprehensive astral projection class I have
cool.
seen anywhere. It's the best
Cool.
parts of my 15 teachers. All of their material goes into this, and a lot of my own as well. But
Beautiful.
it's
Beautiful.
and once you graduate, you'll be invited to come join us flying around the world, beating up bad guys and making the world a better place. Well, look, and because our team is called the Earth Guard because that's what we're doing, and I don't know of any other teams who are that
We
focused
support.
on it. I don't
We
think there's
support that.
any other teams who have a military focus to their spirituality.
And,
But
and the
if
website,
Earth is
the website is the
the Earthguard.world.
earthguard.world. Okay, yes.
Yep.
So so you haven't seen a class in astral projection before, and it relates perfectly what Alabar is saying. If the aura is dense enough or big enough to support that voltage, that is exactly the physics we have been teaching for 30 years on the biophysics of Kundalini,
Mhm.
goldenmean.info/Kundalini, which fits all of these stories. You're literally inhabiting a lightning bolt, and then you get to steer bigger and bigger tornadoes, and suddenly we have an immune system.
Well, look, yeah, this is what we do. This is
Yes,
exactly what we do.
that is great.
But I've still got to get your concepts on time and the wave collapse that happens in the core of it.
Yeah,
But
well,
if because
if
we've had a lot of difficulty figuring out
oh yeah,
what
we can
time should look like as opposed to what it does look like now.
absolutely help you for sure. It's simple. You take Planck length and Planck time to integer exponential golden ratio fractality perfected, called charge collapse, planckfire.com, fractalgut.com. And then you establish the temporal regime within which charge collapse and therefore the quote divine charge distribution is possible. So we can retime everything. And literally, the power spectrum of the weak electric field will tell you whether your Ark of the Covenant is on time or not. But that's another story. But
Got
I
it.
think
No, yeah, no, I just had big download there. Thank you. I don't know, like there's so many words there that that it's going to take a lot of reading for me to understand.
Well, Planck time is the pixel of the quantum foam, and if once you understand that is the point of the vortex at which the transverse is converted to longitudinal and thus embeds in the ray and the superluminal. So that conversion point into longitudinal propagation has to be enabled by fitting in time that charge collapse, in which then the compression cascade can embed into that array, which is the collective consciousness. And that is the instantaneous, not just global communication, it's instantaneous galactic communicator. So to be continued. But let's give Jake, why don't you tell a little bit about your school and your website and your group also now? This is a good time. Time.
I've been doing a lot of one-on-one sessions with people. So basically, if you are an astral traveler or lucid dreamer, and you need help navigating those realms, that's where I really excel at. And I have a Patreon, that's Astral Urmah on Patreon. Also, my YouTube channel is Jacob Angelakis, the Astral Urmah on YouTube. Check out, I have 200 videos on there. That has everything from, my astral experiences to, teachings on the astral, to teachings about, the Galactic Federation and the AI and all sorts of different subjects. So yeah, check all that stuff out. And if you need to get a hold of me, my email is astralurmah@gmail.com. Feel free to email me.
There you go. There's not many people, Alobar and Jake also teaching how to get coherent in the astral, practical lessons in doing this work. It's fabulous. And then just finally among the commercial announcements here, Jake had a lot of fun with our plasma implosion, phiray.com, phiray.com, and has experienced and shared with others that that's one tool, which is implosive phase conjugate compression, phiray.com, which is literally the light bulbs from the pyramid. They call it a Shemin to the Lord. It was literally an immortality device, a time reversal. That's what they call it altar in church. It's actually a Shem. So if your altar in your church ain't doing time reversal, it ain't working. Come on, by us,
not up to scratch.
we can show you the physics if you want to know what an altar in church is supposed to do. Time reversal. I mean, age reversing. I mean, phiray.com. So this is a phase conjugate time reverse field, and it has all kinds of implications for getting not just pain reduction or charge distribution efficiency and inflammation reduction, but also
getting lifted in the astral.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, and I just want everyone to pay attention to how Dan's got a full head of silver hair, but it's rare to see someone as excitable and lively. Like, this is what happens when you're in contact with this kind of thing.
What else is fun, man? Nothing else is fun, really.
There's nothing else to be doing but this. There's nothing else. There's nothing else going on.
Oh, hi there.
This is John. This is John. He has we've been using his Therify.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, great.
Nice.
So, Therify and Phiray, these are devices for phase conjugate plasma that implode into this coherence. Wonderforce
rejuvenation.com. Love you, Dan.
Oh, thank you. Blessings. So this conversation is to be continued on the time stuff and more. Alobar and Jake, thank you so much. We had super fun, huh? Yes?
I have quite a lot.
Mate.
Yeah, I have quite a lot to say about time as well. So maybe we'll make that our next subject.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
You beauty ripper bonzer, mate. See us all later. All right. Have a good night.
Now you get to sleep there, Alobar. Thanks.
All right. Sweet dreams, everyone.
Blessings.
Bye-bye.
Blessings. Bye-bye.